were taken in this executive session. We discussed the proposed settlement in the electronica matter, and I would ask Town Counsel to describe the settlement.
Yes, this is an appeal of the assessor's assessed value of property at 39 Round Hill Road in Woodbridge. And the assessor had assessed the property at an assessed value of $1,141,700, which includes all land and all buildings. And after this case has been pending for about a year, we've had significant discussions, pleadings filed with the plaintiff who brought this appeal to court to contest the assessed value that is placed on it by the assessor. We have an agreed upon and negotiated new assessed value which the assessor has signed off on and approved, and I'm going to ask the Board of Selectmen to ratify that approval and then we will enter into a court judgment and stipulation with the plaintiff. The new assessed and agreed upon value of the property is $1,105,700, which includes all land and all buildings.
Thank you. Is there a motion to ratify this proposed settlement agreement?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion or questions?
Nice job.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are up to item number 6. Thank you, Tony.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
we made it. The first item on the update is a monthly report. And the monthly report through October of 13 is a budgetary shortfall of $118,000. Keep in mind that our budget has built into it a shortfall of $400,000, which we anticipate would be a contribution from fund balance. So this has got a budgetary shortfall of $118,000, which is over and above that. Okay, just so you understand how that works. It's outlined on the schedule attached. But in intergovernmental revenue, the town received $41,000 from revenue sharing grant. We had budgeted $27,000 for that, so we have a slight surplus there. We also have an additional $120,000 in town road aid from the state this year. Now, some towns, we have a $120,000 balance in town road aid grant funds, and we're receiving $240,000 round figures. Some towns, that's what they budget in their road paving budget. We budget $725,000, so we clearly have spent the grant money that we were given. But some towns just provide, just budget what they're given. Another revenue item is a shortfall from Billy Casper, which we sort of alluded to earlier, and that's a $308,000 shortfall in operations from the country club. And essentially what that is revenue assumptions and expenditure actual revenue figures and expenditure figures through this date of this report, October, and then assumptions for following months based on, particularly with the revenue, last year. So it sort of uses last year as their baseline for the revenue projections going out through the end of the year. So that's sort of where it's based on. More conservative than their budget was, which was created 6-8 months ago.
So they're conservatively projecting $308,000.
Right. When I say conservative, I mean they think that's the worst it'll be.
Right.
Right. Based on the revenues that were received last spring, which, according to what we had discussed, and what their experience was a lot lower than they thought they would be. So.
Well, if they beat last year's revenue, that goes down.
Correct.
As long as they're adding.
Correct.
Right.
As long as there's no major unordinary or unorthodox expenditures that were not anticipated. Last year they did have a surplus of about $60,000 in expenses.
Any other questions for Tony?
So that's revenue. Just a little bit on expenditures.
Yep.
We've reviewed this last year, but there's last month rather. But there's a surplus in our benefits line of about $24,000.
Okay. Thank you. Next item are the funding requests. Pat Crisco has requested that we approve a refund of property taxes in the amount of $4,215.92 as set forth in the documents in the packet. Is there a motion to approve the refund?
So moved.
Second, thank you. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We now go to funding requests. First item is funding request 1314-09 in the amount of $5,000. Tony?
And the first request is, we had $10,000 in the budget for the contract for Milo and McBroom, and the contract has funding for this year, for this fiscal year, $15,000. So this is to make up the difference between the budget and the contract.
Why is it differential?
It's more of a timing differential than
Just
a
the timing.
total value difference. In other words,
Not
the
a
value is
charge.
the same. It's
Okay.
just shifted from next
When
year
you
to
don't
this
Yeah,
year.
no problem.
Is there a motion to approve funding request?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. The next is line item transfer number 1314-10 in the amount of $13,700.
This is to fund the contractual increases that were awarded in July for Labor Council and Labor Negotiator, Town Council and Labor Negotiator, which we funded out of building maintenance. I wanted to wait a few months to make sure that we would have the funds in that account, which we do, which is why it's a few months after the fact. But this is in fact to fund those increases.
We'll make that
Yep.
motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Now we have two bid waivers. First is the fire department is requesting a bid waiver in the purchase of portable radios. Tony, do you want to?
Sure. So the fire department has looked in, they need some, which is funded in their budget, and Motorola are the type of radios that they have currently. So it's the kind of radio that they would like to remain with. And so we did some research on some pricing, including from local vendor or state contract. And as it turns out, Motorola is offering them directly for a cheaper cost. So sort of kind of a sole source thing where they want to use the same type of radio. And also, it's directly from the supplier, which was lower than the state contract bid, so we felt it was something that would be
That
acceptable.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to approve the bid waiver?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion?
Just one. This was basically, if I'm not mistaken, talked about last year at the budget time, and this is the same.
The same radios, correct.
Okay,
Right.
that's all.
Good memory.
So in the budget, you authorize the expenditure, and then the purchasing is done throughout the year.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Next item is a bid waiver for purchase of clay for the ball fields.
So we received a state grant of $25,000 for purchase of clay for the ball field down at West Rivers. It says on here, right? Does it say the ball field? It's for down in West River. And so Adam's going to apply this clay that we received, and he's got a specific type of clay that he uses, which he feels would be the best clay for that particular field in those particular conditions. Typically, we don't replace this much clay because we typically don't have a grant for it, so it's usually a little bit at a time. But because we have this grant, he is asking to be able to use that clay, which is a very reasonable price for that type of clay. So I felt it was appropriate enough to at least bring to your attention and for your discussion.
Is there a motion to approve the bid waiver for the clay for the ball fields?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Any questions?
How did we get the grant?
We received the grant through, we applied a grant through a recreational grant, and it was through DEEP is the grant agency. And Senator Crisco's office was very helpful in that.
And how often do we have to do this typically?
What's that?
Replace the clay?
Oh, typically he does a little bit. We get donations from the Fathers League to do it. A lot of times, about $3,000 a year.
This is more of a major.
This is more of a major overhaul, right? So this will help to offset his clay needs going forward into the future for quite a while.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Anything else? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Next is the animal control update.
Okay, there's, it was handed out at your desk.
Yeah.
But we have the animal control update for October. And there were 84 complaints, 28 from Bethany, 25 from Derby, and 31 from Woodbridge. I figure I'll just read it into the,
Sure.
yeah. 10 dogs from Woodbridge were picked up and redeemed to their owners. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 adoptions, 1 dog in Bethany, 3 dogs, and 4 cats in Derby. 5 wildlife issues were addressed and resolved, 3 in Bethany, 2 in Woodbridge. There are currently, as the printing of this report, 4 cats and 6 dogs at the shelter. 162 people visited the shelter, not including children. And we were able to do, had a new computer and printer and some repairs in some vehicles. And 208 phone calls were logged. So that's your monthly report.
I have a
Thank you.
question.
Yes.
Sure.
When you say responded to 84 complaints, what does that mean?
Calls.
Not people calling in and
No,
complaining.
complaints are, they mean calls.
I lost my dog.
Yeah, there's a
Right.
dog roaming on my street.
Yeah.
Someone's barking like.
Someone's
crazy.
barking, could you come
Right.
check it out?
But not
There's a-
complaints about the shelter. That's what
Right,
you're
I'm
saying.
sorry, you're right, that's
Could be,
poorly,
I've
that's
lost my
poorly.
dog, I need help.
Could be.
And
Could
you- okay,
be.
so
Yep.
I had
it's a
one
broad
last month
statement.
because there was a mountain lion in my backyard.
Are you serious?
So there's 83, we
Wow.
had 1.
Cougar.
If I may, there's
Yeah.
two sources in these calls. Some go to 911 or the police department. Some go to the direct line down there. But those are, quote, the
Well, I
complaints.
think it's important to note that these are not,
It's a fair point.
They are not.
Don't change that for-
complaints.
For the reports, it's probably a better
They're
word.
call-ins.
Yeah,
they're
that's,
calls, let's use a
They should change,
different
he should change,
word.
yeah, they should
Yeah.
change it.
Fair
Or
point.
needs for service or something like that.
Yeah, well,
While,
Calls for service.
while we're on animal control, we heard from people today at our meeting next month. Dave Ryan, our labor consultant, will be here. We'll go into executive session and get an update on what's been happening.
just if I might, because I met with Tony on this not too long ago, to get an understanding of this, I didn't know, but Bethany, Derby, Woodbridge is serviced by this, right? And we pay the lion's share of this. And I see that if I look at the calls, 84, they're pretty even.
Yeah.
So is there any thought of maybe getting another town to share the budget here, or, I mean, because we're carrying Derby and Bethany along, and it's all great, I love animals, all that stuff, but once again, we're footing the bill here, and if we could get another town, it might ease our budget a little bit.
Absolutely.
And enable us therefore to do some improvements down there and not all on our dollar and so forth, so.
We are looking into possibility of other towns joining us, and Dave is looking at some of that. We were waiting until after the election, so we would be sure we know who we were talking to in other towns, but if there is the possibility, we'll definitely follow up.
Wasn't it one time Orange using our facilities years ago?
Mhm.
Yeah, it was a regional authority.
And now they use Milford.
Prospect, Orange, Woodbridge,
Yeah,
and Bethany.
correct. But if I can add one thing then, and I think we've discussed this at one point, but I also had a discussion with Tony when I went down to see the facility and meet with Paul. Clearly, there's some repairs that are coming. I don't know what they're gonna ask for this year in the budget. But I would like to discuss that we as a board pass that information on to Bethany and Derby, because in my opinion, there should be some costs associated for them as well. We shouldn't foot the entire cost, and I think they should get a heads up before their budget process that we may be asking for funding or partial funding of those needed repairs, since they're using the
Do we
facility.
have any kind of an agreement with them?
We
do.
That-
Yeah,
Does
it's
it
when-
include capital improvements, or does it just the
I don't think it does,
operational? So,
but when we renegotiate the contracts
It's
with
something we should
I
talk
think
about.
letting them know that we have concerns
yeah.
Yeah.
in advance is a
Yeah.
good idea.
There haven't been any significant capital improvements to the facility since they've been on board, but there are some that will be coming, so it would be a good thing to at least discuss, yeah.
Yeah, we'll hear about that, I'm sure, at the Capitol.
You will, yeah.
budget,
Yes.
Yeah. Request
Okay.
meeting.
Anything else on that?
No, that's it.
Then we will go to minutes. I think we're finally getting to minutes of meetings that we've all attended. So the first are minutes from the regular meeting of August 28th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
second.
Any corrections or discussion on the August 28th minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Okay. Next is the September 17th special joint meeting, Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance, where we heard the earlier presentation by the Building Committee. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Jerry, for those minutes.
One more.
November 5th, sorry.
Got it?
Yes. November 5th, a special meeting with respect to hiring the Public Works garage mechanic. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Did you
Is
move?
that
There's
a
two
motion?
of them. There's the mechanics and then there's the boilers, correct? On the 5th?
Yeah, the first is the Public Works garage mechanic.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Also on November 5th, special meeting with respect to the Beecher boilers. Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. First Selectmen's report, I have a few things. We've already talked about the outstanding service of the fire department at the fire Saturday night, and compliment to the fire department, to Joe Capucci, our fire marshal, to the families, and to the fire commission, Beth. Everybody really pulled together, and also to our neighbors who responded with mutual aid. So that was, it was a very sad evening, but people really worked together for the family. Also, to compliment the fire department on Truck or Treat. This was the second annual. I think it's the beginning of a tradition on Truck or Treat, and provided safe, secure opportunities for kids and families on Halloween, and they served something like 2,000 hamburgers and hot dogs. I think it was very successful and good community event. Also, I don't know if you've all seen this, but we had wonderful news about the Pond Lily Dam removal. Our West River Committee, headed by Frank DeLeo and Buddy DeGennaro, have been working on this for quite a long time. And removal of the Pond Lily Dam will help ameliorate the flooding in the flats. This is a very important step, and it was a joint effort by environmental groups, New Haven groups, Woodbridge groups, and it's a real tremendous accomplishment. And we think this will have a tremendous impact on the flooding. It won't ameliorate all the flooding, but we've also been following up with the Army Corps of Engineers. Tony and I met with them, and they're still studying the property to see what other steps might be feasible. So there's more to be done, but the $660,000 grant is hugely important. Let's see, I wanted to mention on Veterans Day, Beecher Road School had a wonderful commemoration for Veterans Day, including Bill Letch leading the band in their adorable uniforms. So it was a very, very nice event. And rather than have the day off, they had a day of learning about Veterans Day at Beecher Road School. And then we had our Veterans Day event here at the town center. Joe Heller was brave enough to not attend and turn it over to Barry Joseph, who did a great job. I think he followed everything you told him exactly, and it was very successful. And finally, I want to mention that we do have the Freedom of Information presentation on December 4th at 6 o'clock. I think all of our board members have agreed to go. And we've had pretty good response from boards and commissions. Freedom of information is something that's very, very important to what we do, and the rules are not intuitive. I think people accidentally do things that they would never think were violating some FOI rule. And we've all done it at various times. If you have specific questions, please think about them. Tom Hennick is great, and he'll do his presentation and answer whatever
That's gonna be
questions.
right here, right?
Yeah, yes. And I would also mention that we have a meeting coming up on the Route 15, Exit 59 exchange. That's been in abeyance for quite a while, but we've heard from DOT, and they've scheduled a meeting. And I have met with Mayor-elect, New Haven Mayor-elect Tony Harp, to start briefing her about the issue, or I couldn't really brief her because I don't know the issue, but bringing her the materials, because New Haven could be a very important partner with us in this project. So she's going to take a look at that as well. That's it for my report. Joe, do you have
You
anything?
took my thunder. I was
Oh.
gonna thank Barry and everybody else. I think I got very good reports when I got back from where I was in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And I want to thank Barry specifically, but everybody turned out well. And I understand we had over 60 people. The weather was good, and the bells were on time. Everything went like
great.
clockwork. So
Thank you.
thank you, Barry.
Okay, liaison reports. Susan.
I attended the CCW meeting, but you've already had a report from them, and the police commission meeting, I believe, was canceled. Right. I knew I wasn't there, but I thought that was the reason. That's it.
Thank you. Beth.
I attended the October 21st meeting of the Board of Fire Commissioners. Financials are currently on track. All the trucks are due for routine maintenance this coming month. They went over the capital budget with us, and you'll be hearing about that soon. I won't bore you. The new fire hose was delivered, the ones that we approved as a special, so they have that. A lot of the firefighters have attended several training classes and EMT classes. They helped out, just to let you know, the department assisted with several town events, including the Bagel Run, the JCC Bagel Run, and the Rec Department Road Race. Truck or Treat, it says will be held, but it was fantastic, and Ellen came in costume. I was really cool about that. Good job.
You were the best.
It was a lot. Tony was there too, right? You were, yeah.
Batman.
We couldn't
That's right.
recognize you, Tony.
I know, I didn't know who you were.
Head to toe,
And he
Batman.
brought Robin too.
You were Batman?
Head to toe.
And he had a Robin. Who was
Ears,
Robin?
mask.
Who was Robin?
Oh, my son was
Okay, it was great. It was fun.
Wow.
nice.
Let's see, fire calls are running close to past years. There were two incidents where they assisted the PD in finding 2 lost individuals in the woods, and I can't echo enough what they did the other night. It was just phenomenal, and I'm very proud of them. And sometimes we don't think about this, but I was back at the firehouse with a lot of the wives, and they were clearly worried. You know, when their guys go out,
Working fires are never easy.
oh, yeah, and they were trying to keep busy, and you know, every time my phone rang, is everything okay? Is everything okay? And I said, yep. So there's a lot of stress involved, and I thank the families as well for what they do, supporting the firemen. I went to the special town meeting where Michael Looney and Ally Church from Malone and McBroom distributed a descriptive outline of proposed project tasks for the Plan of Conservation and Development, and we kind of reviewed a lot of that tonight as far as the Country Club of Woodbridge, and they have quite an extensive 18-month proposal. So it's a document that actually, if you want to see it, it's there with all their proposals, and I won't take up your time tonight because we've been here a while, but that was good. And then, let's see, Alan and I my husband did the conservation walk. He wanted me to tell everybody that he went, so at the annual fall walk, and it was actually the Baldwin Road Greenway beautiful. You went too?
I went.
Tony, yeah, it was really beautiful piece of property. And it was a beautiful day. And then I went to another town planning and zoning meeting on November 4th, and they approved a residence office permit after the fact for 100 Seymour Road, continued an application for a dance studio at Hazel Terrace, voted to adopt the proposed amendment for the zoning regs of the town plan regarding the sale of firearms, and they received an application and scheduled a public hearing, this is exciting, for a special permit for a restaurant liquor establishment from some place called Grimaldi's. I'm not familiar with it, but I guess it's big pizza and stuff from New York, so it should be fun.
It's the best
Down
news
in-
of the meeting, right?
Yeah, and it's going to be down, what was the, near Starbucks,
Fan
isn't
Shun.
it? Yeah,
Fan
Fan
Shun.
Shun, and, right.
Next to Cats.
Yep,
or the
so
end
it's
of
good.
The building.
And then they got a letter from a resident about the lighting at the firehouse, and it was determined that was not a town P&Z issue, so I think they're going to forward that to the Selectmen at some point, just a heads up that that's coming. And the next meeting is Monday, December 2nd, and that's my report.
Thank you.
Sorry, it's long. A lot of
Tony?
stuff.
I'm trying not to be yours. I'm going to stay under your report. I also attended what ended up being 3 commission meetings. On the 10th, Economic Development met. There was a presentation of C-Space, which is clean energy opportunities for commercial buildings for businesses. Basically, this woman, Genovese Sherman, gave the presentation. However, it was determined she would have to come here and give that same presentation. But it was
always
quite
comes to the
interesting.
Selectmen, doesn't it, eventually?
Yeah, it was interesting. So they heard that presentation. There unfortunately was no resolution to the website. The second meeting attempt at a JCC roll event has been canceled and rescheduled, hopefully this time in January. Though today, Jody Allant, who's the chair, myself, Mika Cardoza, and James Scott went to a workshop held by Rex at Amarantes this morning for about 3-4 hours. It was fantastic. A lot of great ideas and a lot of ways to go about it, and a lot of sharing of information from one town to another, which was unexpected. So I think very good things will come out of that. They are going to present, Jody is, I believe next month, she's hoping to present to us, to the BOS, the website rollout, and any questions we have. And they're still, it's a work in progress, and it always will be, but they're getting closer. In any case, that's where they are with that. There was an update, and they're looking for a newer update on the Litchfield Turnpike, both the exits coming off the Merritt, but also widening, the proposal to widen Litchfield Turnpike in front of the Montessori school there. And that was that. On as far as conservation, they met on the 17th. The recreation gave a presentation, very well received, and of course they were part of the fall walk with Lake Woodbridge Land Trust, and I did attend. My family did, and it was a great. And Edie Lockyer, Jim Urbano, and Louise Cunningham did a guided tour, and they were fantastic. The knowledge of the property and the any questions people had. And it's a beautiful piece of property. So that was a very well worthwhile event. On the 28th, I went to the recreation meeting. They unfortunately did not make quorum, so there were no votes taken. However, there was a few discussions. One of the basically what recreation membership looks like. The pool membership's doing very well this year, and 90% of that is Woodbridge residents. And the other thing that I think we will be seeing in the near future is they are looking to fix the ice rink, redo the ice rink that's over on the walk path. And they would like to add a portable skating rink platform to put on top of it for skateboarding during non-winter months. So that's something will be, I don't know. I don't know. That's just what they are hoping for, and obviously they'll be discussing that with us in the future.
Okay, thank you. Joe.
Yeah, sure. I didn't make the library commission meeting. Inland Wetlands was in executive session to discuss the fire commission appeal. I also did not make human services this month, but I do know that they had their holiday fair and they had net proceeds of $1964.50. They were very pleased with that. So
Oh, great.
It's a great event.
Thank you.
that's it.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn? So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.